Hey, hey everyone. Um Back again. 2 in a week. Live shows, live Q&As, live chats. Um uh just thought I would do this. For me, it's a boring Saturday. Um and I am always up for chatting with any of you guys who want to chat about the stuff that I love, filmmaking, horror, movies in general, comedy, fantasy, science fiction, um, ska, toys, collecting, any of that stuff. I'm up for it. The Gooch. Yes, you love your shirts. Yes, it is a Fright Rag shirt. This is their new Creep Show shirt. It's beautiful. Uh, I've gotten a lot of new shirts lately, actually, from um, Gutter Garbs and Fright Rags. Um, I did get a really cool Day of the Dead one from Terror Threads a couple months ago. Uh, but yeah, Gutter Garbs is actually really like oof, they've been knocking it out of the park. They'll release something like every week out of the blue. They won't, they'll release one day and then the next day they'll say, "Oh, Friday or Monday, look for this release." It'll be a pre-order or it'll be one of those like limited 78-hour type things. But yeah, I got new Teen Wolf shirt from Gutter Garbs, that Monster Squad shirt, which is not shipped yet, and then the Nightmare on Elm Street 4 Dream Master shirt. Fright Rags, Critters, Little Shop of Horrors, Brain Scan, and this Creep Show. But yeah, I enjoy chatting with folks. Uh, Truth be told, I I can. It's pretty lonely around here. Um, most of all my best friends are scattered around the country, um, and the ones that are here never really want to come over to do anything. Um, whether that just be laziness or you know um, they don't feel like it or whatever, which is fine. But yeah, I like yapping with like-minded folk, and so I just wanted to see if anyone was around to yap, to chat with. Uh, the last live that I did just a few days ago, um, there hasn't been much of an update with some of the stuff that I said on that one, as far as Wellsville Nights is concerned. Um, maybe, but yeah, it's still flowing. It isn't quite solid yet, but I'm hoping, man, I'm hoping going into July, this thing is set and solid, and I don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. 'Cause as I said in that live show, we start shooting, um, 1st of August, but people arrive on the 30th of July. So, but yeah, so, hopefully people will pop on and, we can get this going. People will have questions for me to answer, and if not, that's alright. We'll cut this thing short. Um, I recently showed Katie, um, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. It's funny because, like, you know, so we've been together for 11 years, uh, and it seemed like early on that she was really into the stuff that I was showing her. More specifically, got the Godzilla stuff, and she seemed amused and entertained by it all. And then I don't know, she's sort of like just slowly phased out of wanting to watch those films. She hasn't gone to the movies with me in a long time. I enjoy going to the theater. Um, that'll never stop. But she just, it just, I guess, depends. I don't know. Like, she just doesn't go with me anymore. So she's like, "Oh, we've got a big theater room downstairs. I'll wait for it to come to disc or streaming or whatever." So Godzilla versus Kong recently came out on 4K Blu-ray. Of course, I had to get it, and sat her down and watched it. Showed it to her. I saw it in theaters, of course, and I loved it. It's so much fun and just a really entertaining time. And I felt that again watching it at home. I was just like, God damn, this movie is just so bonkers silly and fun. And I had a blast. Um, I think the movie's great. I love it. I think, and I just saw Bad Boys 4, Ride or Die, with Casey. Casey and I have watched all the Bad Boys together since part two, um, in theaters, and we love those movies, and this is no exception. Part four is just as stupid and bonkers as two and three, maybe even a little bit more silly. Um, but I really enjoy it. I think so far at the movies this year, like, I think probably Dune 2, Godzilla X Kong, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Bad Boys have been my favorites so far. But out of those four, I would say Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and Godzilla X Kong are like top. Um, I really like Dune 2, and I own it on 4K Blu-ray. But there's just something, and it's probably just inherent to the story itself. And I know where it goes. Um, I have read Dune. I know I know where Messiah leads and all that stuff. Um, so I think just story wise, um, it's not as compelling and strong to me as Dune, the first half of Dune, um, which I love, absolutely love. Um, but I still really dig it. But fun factor, you know, the other stuff is going to win out. I did see Furiosa. I did see Fall Guy. Um, Meh, like I'll never watch them again. Furiosa didn't do it for me, man. Um, it was cool and all, but at the end of the day, I was just like, what a useless film. Fury Road, like, is way better. Skull of the Abyss. When does the new SOV Vigilante drop? I don't know. We're gonna shoot Monday, um, so probably Tuesday it'll drop. Um, it's been tough trying to wrangle those guys. Um, I think it's going to be a situation where I'm probably going to have to do episodes myself, um, or just me and a possible other guest until Andrew and Clint can sort of regularly give me a night that they want to do it. Um, so I think that'll probably happen because there's plenty of other people that I can talk to as well. Um, but they're kind of the co-hosts, and but again, I also I don't I don't like waiting, weeks, months. So that'll probably end up happening. But me, Clint, and Andrew are shooting one Monday night. It's coming up Monday. So probably Tuesday, I'll throw it up there and we'll have a new one. Um, and there's people, like, yeah, there's folks we're gonna talk to. Folks I know want to come on the show. Um, so it's still happening. Um, but glad you're digging it. And when we do it, I'm really enjoying it. And, outside of all the stuff that I think the three of us own anyway, we always love discovering new SOV. And I think one of the drawbacks of talking about a shit ton of it is that we like to all watch it together. Um, and that, again, one lives in Florida, one lives in Kansas City, Missouri, so it's tough. The only time we get together is if we're making movies or we're doing the Gash Bash, and we make time to see each other every year outside of movie making and stuff like that. But we have Wellsville Nights coming up in August, and we're all going to be together. So we're going to make it a point to watch some stuff um, when we're not shooting after the days of shooting, and we've got some SOV that we want to watch together. So we'll be doing that for sure. Um, but yeah, any recommendations as well, let us know. We love to hear about stuff that we may not have heard about. Um, and collectively, the three of us, we know a lot of SOV. We've seen a lot of SOV, but it's always those rare gems. You know, what's been cool also is Tubi's been. We talk about it on the show, but a lot of stuff has been popping up on Tubi, which is pretty awesome. you know, to find that more obscure stuff, the weird stuff. So that's been pretty neat. Uh, Sorry, guys. I'm getting sent some info on the UAP subject, which I am a big follower of, proponent of UAPs, UFOs, aliens, all that stuff. What's out there in the vast reaches of space, universes, galaxies, all that stuff. I am a fan. I actually found you through Tubi, and now me and my girlfriend will have marathons on Tubi all the time. Ah, well, thank you. That's just the tip of the iceberg, too, guys. Like, so everything that's on Tubi, that's like a Chris Seaver movie. One, it's great that it's out there. Two, I don't see a dime for, because a lot of these flicks. So if you don't know, Big Boy, Jesus 92. Um, I've been making movies for 33 years, and I've made over 60 flicks. Um, and I've made a lot of flicks for a variety of different companies. Um, and so they do what they want with those titles. And when those movies were made, some of them are over 20 years old. Um, there was no streaming. There was no what there is now for the distribution of this stuff and the royalty stuff. So I don't see anything for the films that are out there, and these companies don't have to tell me what movies of mine are out there and what movies are on what streaming formats, what streaming apps. So it's usually fans who let me know that, oh, hey, this, I just saw this on this streaming platform. Like early on, I knew, like when the f- the brunt of working with Tempe Entertainment, which is now MakeFlix.com. I did know a lot of that. Obviously, I knew when our stuff was on Netflix back in the day, both started to stream and was in their DVD distribution. I knew then for the Netflix stuff, but that was, 2009. That was a long time ago. Things have changed, so I don't know what movies are on where. Obviously, I do know that Chris Seaver flicks are on Tubi. I just don't know how many. I've never sat and like counted. I don't, normally look up my shit. Um, it's nice to know the weirdsies is out there because, out of the 60 plus movies I've done, I only like maybe two handfuls of the movies I've done. The weirdsies is one of them, so that's nice that it's out there. You know, but we don't have any movie on any streaming service that is not like almost 10 years old. We don't have any of the new stuff out on the streaming services. Um, Not yet. So, so you okay? So you got the Filthy McNasty quadrilogy. Oh, you didn't get the box set that MakeFlix offers. Um, they they produced and released 13 of my movies, and they're responsible for picking up the Weirdsies finally, and putting that out officially. Um, and then you know, again, a shit ton of them you can only get through me, of my titles, and I offer that to fans. I have a list of what's on the discs and the prices and everything. Um, but it's cool that the stuff is out there, and people are rediscovering it or discovering it for the first time. You know, yeah, I think the newest movie that is out there on streaming is the Weirdsies. So that was 2015. We did Death on Lantern the remake in 2016, um, which is finally coming out officially at the end of this year through MakeFlix with the other Death on Lantern films that I did. Um, but yeah, we did Whalesville Nights, which you can only get through me, which we're shooting more episodes this summer. We did the feature that I can't talk about yet. Still, we've shot a new feature last summer. Still not out. It's coming out through MakeFlix, but they're doing post production on that, and it's still not. You know, it's a year. It's almost a year that we shot that thing, and it's. But I would assume my hope is that it is coming out this year, but that'll go streaming, and physical. But we're doing some theatrical showings of that first around the country that I'll go to and screen and do Q&As and stuff like that. Evie, do you watch your movies back after you've made them? Which do you watch most often? Um, Not generally. It depends. Like if we have like the group together, the gang, and sometimes we want to look back at something because we just think it's stupid fun. We'll do that. Something there's a flick we did um, called Stoinky Beach. We did that in 2013, and it's a total. I mean, it's a shit fest. We knew it. I mean, it's one of the shot on video Warlock titles that we did to emulate like a 1986 shot on video movie. Um, so we go into the shot on video stuff completely knowing that they're going to be. I write them silly. We perform them silly. We terrible camera work, terrible editing, that type of stuff. We know. I mean, that's why it's made. It's made specifically for that. But Stoinky Beach is something that me and Clint and Andrew and Alec particularly like to watch every time we're all together, just because of how stupid it is. So we laugh our asses off. Nobody else really thinks it's that funny, but we do. We just love the really dumb shit we've done, you know. Um, so we'll do that, but with over 60 movies and some of them I just don't like. I haven't watched at all in decades, you know. Um, Probably the most I've watched is like Terror at Bloodfart Lake, Sex Squatch, The Weirdsies. Um, Yeah, I guess every Halloween we'll watch Death o' Lantern 1 and 2, and Christmas we'll do Happy Holidays, you know? And that's with a group. I don't sit around and put a movie in that I've done and watch it. Um, so yeah, hope that answers your question. But I like Film Crew. We did in 2006. I like Filthy McNasty 4. Um, the original title is Beyond McNasty. We shot that in 2010. Um, that's my favorite Filthy McNasty movie. Um, I like Wet Heat. We did in 2007. Um, yeah, I like Phantom of the Grindhouse. 2013 we did PIA, which is sort of our supernatural parks and recreation show. Um, that was 2013. Evil Night, I like a lot. That's a remake of a 1992 shot on video flick by Todd Cook. Um, I had a lot of fun with that one. So yeah, Geek War. Geek War is really underrated. I think that's on Tubi. Did that in 2010 as well, and it didn't come out for years and years. Um, that one was a harder sell. That one, there's like nothing horror in it as well. It's kind of like the Weirdsies. It's just a dark, absurd comedy. Both of them, Geek War and the Weirdsies. I think the Karaoke Kid is like that too. 2006 Karaoke Kid, which you can only get through me. Bruce, hello. Good to see you. Thank you for popping on. Any questions, please lob them at me. I am here to answer questions. I'm here to talk with you guys. As I said, I'm lonely. So let's talk geek shit. Terra Bloodfart Lake is a favorite of ours. Me too. I just did on my channel here. We do a thing called making a crapster piece, where me and fellow members of the group talk about the making of some of these movies. I There's a bunch of Bloodfart Lake on here already, but I just did a making a crafter piece with Nicole, who is one of the leads in the movie, and that'll be going up next week on the channel. But that was fun. Bloodfart Lake 1 was very fun to make. Bloodfart Lake 2 shouldn't have been made. Um, Same with Sex Squatch 2. Should not have been made. Quest for the Egg Salad should not have been made. Watched Moist Fury last week. Loved it. I'm glad somebody likes it. That is not one of my favorites. But yeah, Moist Fury is out there too. I appreciate that people like the good variety of all the stuff that I've done, regardless of the fact that I don't. Um, once it's out there, it's sort of out of my hands, and my stuff is so divisive. You know, um, you either love it or hate it. It's an acquired taste. And there's a lot of love and there's a lot of hate. Um, so it's always nice to hear that people like anything that we've done. Um, but you know, I think there's things in all of the movies that I enjoy. Listen, it's all on me. I wrote and directed all these films. It all came from me. Um, it's just, I think I get in my head and I think about all of the issues that happened during the making of that movie, that particular film, or you know, just the garbage that comes along with that certain film that sticks with me, and so um, they're not fond memories for me. Um, I can also, when I'm editing a flick, I can look at it and say, "Man, this is pretty bad," and I'll do my best to put it together in a coherent fashion, but then sort of never look at it again. So for good or bad, it can go out there into the world in a real shit state, you know. And then there's a bunch of movies that I made early on that I made specifically to pay bills, to pay rent, and didn't put any effort into them, and and that's on me. I mean, it's also on the certain distributor who wanted that certain thing made, and sort of I don't play well with others, um, as far as companies go and what they want out of me and what I want to deliver. You know what I mean? Um, and so there can be a butting of heads where I'm like, this is dumb. What you're asking is fucking stupid. And so instead of taking that and making it entertaining, I'll take it and make it as stupid as fucking possible just to sort of say fuck you. you know. And so I did that for some of the flicks where I just don't give a shit. Luckily I don't do that anymore, and it's been a long time since I've done that. Um, there's certain people that I won't make movies for ever again, and there's certain things that, as far as my integrity goes, I'll say no right out front. Just I'm not doing that, and I know, as a 40, I'm about to turn 47, so I know as a 47-year-old man what I do now, what I am comfortable doing, what I enjoy doing, and that's what I do. And so, you know, the only compromise is, how are you still going to let me do the thing that I do without wanting to fuck it up, you know? So, how do I come up with scripts? It's just, so normally it's just things that'll spark, things that I find funny. It can be, so I have a lot of, um, I think a lot of people work this way too, but I have a lot of pads. I just have a lot of pads of paper. I have so many notebooks in this home throughout my life that I've kept, um, and they are literally idea books. It's me. I think something pops in my head that I think is funny. I'll write it down. A title. I'll write down a scene that doesn't necessarily have to do with a movie, but I think this scene would be good, either gross or funny. And I'll write them down. Sometimes it can happen at night in bed. I'll wake up in the middle of the fucking night and I'm laughing, so I must have been laughing in the dream. And so I'm coming out of the dream laughing, and I'll grab my phone, and in the notes, I'll put whatever, like I have right now, like all these notes. And if you click those notes, it goes into pages of stuff that I find funny, that I don't want to forget, you know. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be for that specific movie that I want to do. I can hodgepodge those things together and make it into the specific movie. Um, you know, and then other times it might be I'm sitting with some of the group who I consider my extended family. I love these people, but if you've seen any of my films, you know that it's a lot of the same people, a lot of recurring characters. These people have a good portion of them have been with me for 20 to 25 years of me doing this, and I've been doing this for 33 years. So these people have been with me for a long time, um, and so it could be whether they're here or if we're at a convention or if we're at an event somewhere and we're all hanging out together. It can be us spitballing, throwing shit at the wall. We're watching something and we're making fun of that something, and something will spark out of that. You know, a saying. you know. So yeah, it can. You know, it's a variety of places. And some of the stuff that we have, I'll look back at the notebooks and I'll look for titles or look for certain synopsis and characters, and I'll say, okay, well, we never did that. How about we get to that? And we've got stuff that may have been planned, but we never shot. Planned even through half scripting or treatments. The log lines, whatever, that stuff is in here. The stuff we have coming up, Radikill, Curse of Frank Wolfula, um, I was a young adult sex mutant from outer space, and Death Skate 88. They were all titles we've had for a while, or ideas that didn't have titles, or amalgamations of other ideas that we had for Warlock home video releases, um, in the past, and I'm finally dredging up, and we're gonna do. Um, so that can happen that way as well. It's just you never know. You never know. And how many of you guys have seen the documentary too? Like, I don't know if you guys know, or there's a and I'm sorry for the fans who know this, um, but there is a documentary in 2019. A filmmaker who now is a friend, but a stranger filmmaker, approached us to make a documentary about me and the group and my films, and spent 3 years of his life and his own money, and made a documentary and traveled around the country and did festivals and won a bunch of awards. But it finally hit streaming last year. It's called Zero Budget Heroes: The Legend of Chris Seaver and Low Budget Pictures. It's an almost 2 hour documentary, um, really about me being born in '77 and the evolution of me wanting to make movies, and up until the doc was finished in 2021. You know, so it really gives you a the whole history of what I've done, what I do, why I do it, how I keep doing it. Um, so if you're interested, that is out there. It's on Tubi, I know, for free, and Zodoc Films, Zodoc, ZODOC Films. They sell physical. Zach Oliveris, who's the director of the doc, he sells physical media of that. I do have a few of the limited VHS releases of the doc, but that's out there, so people, you get a good chunk of info in that. Um, oh, so okay, so you you saw Ha 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 from the title alone, I'm so for Sex Mutant. Yeah, so that is that movie, I Was a Young Adult Sex Mutant from Outer Space, is a homage to Doctor Alien, the Dave Dakota, Charlie Band produced 1989 sex comedy, um, with Stuart Fratkin and Billy Jacoby. I love that film, and I've always wanted to do, like, my version of it or a sequel, and so this is my loving homage to that film. Whether or not we'll get to it in 2025 or 2026, I don't know. I have a feeling that the 2025 movies will be Radikill and Curse of Frank Wolfula, which is my homage to Hammer films, the 50s British horror films. But Radikill, I mean, I've been wanting to make for 5 years, you know. Um, so those will be next. When you go on the film debut tour, which dates do you look at? That's, I mean, it's again, I'm not sure how that's going to work. Um, so my producer and owner of Tempe Entertainment, MakeFlix.com, J.R. Bookwalter, filmmaker himself, his new film. He hasn't made a film in 23 years, and he finally just got back to it. It's called Side Effects May Vary, and it's great. It's a great, you know, Adam Age monster movie, but in the modern age. He is just ending his uh, theatrical roadshow tour with it. Um, he's got a screening in Germany next week, and then he's got a screening in July, and then he's done. But he's been doing it since January, and he's been going around the country, literally like around the country, um, showing his new movie. And so there's certain theaters at these spots that I know will show my new movie, and I think he knows will show the new movie. So it's we don't know yet. I mean, it just depends. I he's not even letting me tell anybody what the movie is that we did last year, which is silly. But it's his strategy, whatever. Um, I edited the film last September, but he has to do post production on it because he's also releasing the physical media and all that stuff. But you know, when they're putting out a product, he wants it to be the best it can be, and he's been busy. So, um, any theatrical showings we will post on, the MakeFlix social medias. We'll post on all of my social medias on Facebook, on Instagram, here on the channel. Um, when that does happen, I would imagine going into the fall, September. But I don't really know yet, but they will be posted, and I will probably go to as many of them that I can. I'm sure it's going to be expensive travel wise, but some of them I'm sure I'll make a point to be there, maybe with some of the cast and crew. I'll be doing your typical like premieres that I know I'll be at, and that's either just going to be set up through us or through a convention or something. Um, you know, and those premieres, I mean, it could be in Buffalo, New York. It could be here in Rochester, New York. It could be on Long Island. Um, Philly because of the nature of who's all in this stuff, you know, and where my friends are located throughout the country. It might be one of those things. Um, it would be nice to do a full on everybody is there who was a part of it premiere, but I don't think that's going to happen, you know, but it would be nice. I don't think we've ever done that in the history of low budget pictures and Warlock Home Video. I don't think we've ever had like an actual real premiere, you know. A lot of filmmakers will pay for their own premiere to set that up. And I get that. That's great. Um, we've just never done it yet. So I don't know. We'll see. But again, anything like that is going to get posted as it happens. You know, it's a situation where when I get news from JR and Makeflix, then I'll send that news out to everybody, and we'll see what happens. You know, as of right now, we're about to shoot 3 more episodes of Wellsville Nights, the comedy horror parody of 80s teen soap operas. Um, the pilot, you can get the pilot on Blu-ray through me, but there's going to be a um, you know, uh, season one, part one Blu-ray release, and then a season one, part two Blu-ray release when we get to do the second half of the first season. Um, we're shooting those 3 episodes in August, coming right up, and then those first 4 episodes will go up on Tubi. And if people want the first part of the first season on Blu-ray, will they can get it. Um, so I think the rest of the year is going to be doing all this Wellsville Night stuff, the the new feature promotion, and promoting the Death o' Lantern 1, 2, and remake Blu-ray that's coming out through Makeflix in the fall. A lot of promotion, and then we'll kick into production again next year, either starting with Radikill or The Curse of Frank Wolfula. We shall see. Evie, I live across the pond, but I'd love to go to a debut. I bet seeing your movies in an audience feels different than watching with just 2 people. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We've had some really fun screenings of the flicks in the past. Um, you never know how it's gonna hit. Again, because my stuff is just so it's unique. Like I said, it's an acquired taste. Um it's definitely not your run of the mill comedy. It's absurdist humor. It's weird and silly. And not everybody gets that stuff. Um, so it's always a crapshoot showing to an audience. Um, whatever the scenario is, even if it is a at a horror convention or a sci-fi convention or something like that. Um, a film festival. You just don't know. Uh, but 9 times out of 10, I think our screenings go really well, and some of them have been like perfect. Like it couldn't have gone better. You know. It was interesting. We did one screening. This was back in 2005, and we just finished Ghoulish Chronicles from Bone Jack High, and we were all really excited about it, and we had a midnight slot for it, and it was packed. And normally, those midnight shows for us always went gangbusters. We would have, I mean, people just crying, laughing at some of the stupidity, and clapping and shit like that, and it was great. So we were like, "Oh man, wait until they see this." And it was like nothing. It was just like you could hear, crickets. No one was reacting, and if they were reacting, it was just kind of like it was really weird, right? And then the next day, because we also had the movie for sale, so the next day the movie sold out. Like, I mean, you know, the show was, I mean, it was like halfway through the afternoon, and that title was gone. We didn't have any more. It sold like crazy. So we were just so confused by like the reaction from the screening, and then we sold out of product the next day. So it was very interesting. It's never really happened like that again, you know. Normally we get, laughs and people really, you're feeling that vibe. Um but that was strange. That was really weird. Is Tubi the only place your movies are streaming? I need to catch up on so many yet. Again, I don't know. There might be some. I know there's some on Amazon Prime. I just don't know what exactly is on Amazon Prime. Um, again, I don't know how many are on Tubi. Uh, there's a bunch that a lot of the companies that sell my films, they don't even put on streaming, so you can only. Some of them are out of print, so you can't even get them on physical media anymore. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I'm sure there's like other little weird streaming apps that you can find my stuff on. Again, I just don't know. Um, yeah, and I don't offer files or anything like that. I strictly am a purveyor and lover of physical media, so you can only get my stuff on Blu-ray from me. And then MakeFlix offers their their Blu-rays of my stuff, but they also put out a bunch of my stuff on the streaming sites. So I don't know, like, you'd have to, like, I'm the only one who has a full 100% correct, accurate list of all the movies that I've made, what are out there and what are like sold through companies and what are just through me. I am the only one. You can't trust IMDb. Again, I don't know who puts that stuff up on IMDb. I've never really been a fan of IMDb. Um, so I don't know how my stuff gets up on there, or the true accuracy of any of that stuff. I don't think it's probably not accurate. Um, so I always tell people, if you want to see a list of what I've made, what's out there, and what I offer, come to me. I will tell you when I made it, when it was released, you know, all of that stuff. Are any of your films lost media? Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's some titles that were only released on VHS, and those VHS are long gone. When I first started getting distribution in the early '90s, it was all VHS. So those titles, I don't even have the masters of anymore, which kills me. I've been able to put out a lot of my early stuff on Blu-ray. I offer like compilations of a lot of my early films from like '89 on, and you can only get that stuff from me. Um, but I mean, there's companies who I know have the rights to my titles and are no longer selling some of those titles, which irritates me, regardless of the fact that I don't see any money from it. It's just like it would be nice if that stuff were out there so the public could get it. Um, so I know there's some of those titles where the DVD is out of print. You know, I've tried to buy the rights back to some of my films, and it's like no, no one will do it, which is beyond frustrating and bizarre to me, especially if they're not doing anything with that title. It's like, what are you doing? Because I would love to re-release a lot of this stuff on Blu-ray. Remaster it and do new special features and which I've done with a lot of my titles. Thanks to Zach Oliveris, who does a lot of our mastering and remastering and putting those titles on Blu-ray. So yeah, there's some Seaver lost media out there, you know. Every now and again, I'll hear of somebody finding one of those early titles on VHS on eBay, and it's like ridiculous prices. I'm like, oh man, I hope this doesn't sell because boy, this person's going to be disappointed when they see what the movie is. You know. But luckily, Todd Cook, who had Cemetery Cinema back in the day and was responsible for putting a lot of my stuff out on VHS in the '90s, he still has a lot of um, the stuff I sent him as far as uh, the, I guess, master tapes or raw footage or whatever. And he's been sending me stuff uh, that I am curating again and going to be putting out in a Low Budget Pictures Classics Volume 8. We've got 7 other volumes that people can get stuff from me, plus Evil Knight and um, Seavage's Fan Film Frights Blu-ray with a bunch of the fan films that we did back in the '90s. Um, things like that. But we're up to Volume 8 of the classics line, and so he's been digitizing stuff and sending me some of that earlier stuff, which will come out on this next volume, um, and then won't be lost anymore. You know. So, but I think for me, it would be nice if I were still able to have those original, VHS releases from back in the day. It would be cool to have them in my collection, but I don't. Uh, and I know there's people out there who have them. And when we started selling on the convention circuit, um, I started going to the conventions in 1993, and then started selling at the conventions in 1996. And from '96 up until probably 2022, it was all VHS. So there's people out there who have VHS copies of this stuff, and I'm sure they've sold them, resold them, tape traded, dubbed them. Who knows? Um, it would be cool to have some of that stuff back in my life. You know, And if people, every live show, or almost every show, I tell people if they want to get a hold of me, to get the list, find out prices, to see what I've done, you just contact them, warlockhomevideo@gmail.com, all one word, Warlock Home Video. Um, you can get in touch with me. I talk to anybody, Facebook Messenger. I'll talk to you through Instagram Messenger, any of that stuff. But yeah, the primary email is warlockhomevideo@gmail.com. So big boy, do I have a favorite convention story? Either going as a vendor, selling, promoting, and selling the movies, or just as a fan. Um, I mean, I guess I've had a lot of interesting interactions, um, made friends through some of the members of my group were convention people who just kept buying my stuff at the table and you know sort of push themselves into the fold. um I have a bunch of odd and fun Tom Savini stories. um yeah, it's always, I think on the selling side of things, I mean, the best part about it is meeting fans. You go into these things sort of, and certainly for me, because it's, outside of a very hardcore group of fans, no one really knows who we are, you know? So these conventions are, it's more than 50-50. It's a crapshoot. You don't know who's going to know who you are and who is coming up to the table for the first time, um, and discovering this stuff for the first time. So, um, you just try to be the most authentic as you can be, and we pretty much are. And you give them the spiel and you let them know what it's all about, and hopefully you gain a new fan. Um, but meeting like established fans, meeting fans who come up and like know who you are and are fans of the work, and you know that stuff is amazing. I think I talked about it on the last live show, but like, uh, having people dressed up as my characters, showing up, with stuff ready to sign is awesome. I've had my name tattooed on people. Um, that stuff is wild. That stuff is awesome, and it makes it all worth it. Um, we've had weird encounters. We've had, um, you know, for the most part, the fans are really like amazing and down to earth and really solid human beings. And then you get some that are a little a little out there, and you know they may mean well, but it it comes off as creepy, or they say certain things that they may think that you're gonna find funny, but just come off as like I think you can see on the people's faces as the the sadness come over their face when they realize that we're not like what we are in the movies. And I'm certainly not like what I write in these things. It's fiction. It's goofy, over the top, gross fiction. This isn't it's I don't believe in this stuff. I don't like take to heart any of this stuff. I am certainly not this gross or you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what I write, doesn't matter what's performed. It's all show. Um and so I think, you can see people think you're going to be one way and then you're not that, and that can leave them a little disappointed. But for the most part, we've had great convention experiences. I mean, I guess outside of me meeting like celebrities, which I don't tend to do. I don't really like the shows, the conventions for the celebrities. Um, One, I've met so many people that I've wanted to meet. I've been going to these shows since '93, so there's not many people that I haven't had the opportunity to talk to or take a picture with or whatever it is. Um, I like the shows for the vendors, for the atmosphere, just for the being with a horror family, being with a group of people who love the same thing. Um, but I mean, sure, I've had bad like celebrity interactions, stuff like that. And I've had great interactions. One that always stands out, which is pretty cool, is uh, we were selling at a show in at I think it was Horror Find, Horror Find in Maryland, um, and Norman Reedus came to the table, and this was before the Walking Dead stuff, but we knew him through. I knew him through Blade 2 and um, Boondock Saints and stuff like that. This might have been like right when, yeah, this was right when maybe that first season of Walking Dead was about to hit. But Norman came to the table and was really interested in the stuff, and he wanted like he wanted the grossest film at the time that we had. And he bought it, he purchased it, and and he talked with us about the stuff, and that was pretty cool. We've had things like that sort of happen off and on. Um, Derek Mears, who played Jason in the Friday the 13th remake, um, he is a fan of our film Ski Wolf. Um, and so for a while there, he was really sort of interested in what we were doing next and all that stuff. Things like that. But I have Savini stories, um, good and bad. There were a time when a bunch of these, you know, celebs were going to be in a part of the films. Very close. Savini was one of those people. And so, throughout the years, I've had different intimate, um, fun, weird, not so fun interactions with Savini. Um, yeah, so but for the most part, and I'm also one of those guys who I don't really get sick of the shows. I really, really enjoy them. Again, it's sort of like a home away from home type of thing. I like being with a bunch of like-minded individuals. Um, and for the most part, the horror community is really filled with decent individuals. Um, so I just like the atmosphere and being around it, you know. But I love I love comic book conventions. I love comic cons and shit like that. I love conventions. You know, if you're a nerd and a geek and have things that we can all sort of come together on, I like that stuff. You know, so, but horror conventions are my favorite conventions for sure. And any of the times we have screenings at those conventions, if we have a slot at their film festival, or if, we have a midnight slot at their show, those are, like I said, they can be a blast. They can just be really fun, you know, hooting and hollering and just people really enjoying the stupidity and the schlock. And that's awesome to be a part of that. Um, so yeah, I'm going to, no, we're not selling, but I'm going to the next Horror Hound in Cincinnati in September. Um, Horror Hound slash Mask Fest, and I've been to Horror Hound as a vendor and as a fan, and I really love the convention, and I especially love when they do Mask Fest. So I'm really excited. Me and fellow best friend and member of the Warlock Home Video, Josh Swire, we're going to be there, um, just geeking out. I'll probably take flyers and stickers and stuff like that and pass them around. Didn't set up any conventions this year because just so much going on, and we weren't sure what was happening with this new film. We don't know when that's coming, so I would imagine next year we're going to be out there doing a bunch more conventions, just because we'll have the new movie to promote, we'll have Wellsville Nights to promote, and we'll have the Death of Lantern, um, the new Blu-ray of those films to promote. So I would imagine more shows next year. But I'm excited to go as just a geeky fan, to Horror Hound this September. It's gonna be a good one. Mask Fest, man. Man, I love masks. I have since I was a kid. So I'm pumped. I have a small collection of masks myself. They're expensive, but I love the artistry. I love seeing it. I used to dabble in it back in the day, back in the early '90s, in my own way. I would make a lot of paper mache creatures, paper mache faces and masks and stuff like that. Um, I was never able to get my hands on any of the latex clay mask kits or anything like that, which I can now, and I really want to, the Monster Maker kits and stuff like that, um, to make your own masks or busts at home. I really want to do that, just as a hobby. But so I like a lot when Horror Hound does the Mask Fest. So many amazing artists come out, people that I grew up loving, and then just people you may have never heard of, and new people uh, that are showing you their art. That's fucking awesome. So much great stuff. Some of that convention footage, like I've been, it's probably just you know laziness, unmotivation when it comes to doing it, but there is a large portion of tapes that's right here on my editing desk, of convention footage throughout the years. There's probably 20 plus years of convention stuff on on a lot of these tapes, and I do plan to digitize them and put them up on the channel every once in a while. You know, um, I also have some read throughs of when the cast will get together and do some read throughs that I still need to digitize and throw up there. Um, one of these days, I do have a bunch more raw footage. I've been shooting stuff since I was a kid, and I have so many tapes. Um, but the stuff that I have left is really from age 12 on, and that's 1989 on. Um, I wish I had a lot of the stuff earlier than that. There's stuff that I see in my head that I know that I had, and I ended up taping over it, or the tape was ruined, or whatever it was. Um, and so I have a lot of VHS from when I was a kid in my teens that are just in tubs, and I haven't digitized them yet. And some of that stuff I'll probably never show. It's just because I want digitized. I don't want the tapes to degrade. um, and then some of it's going to go on these low budget pictures classics volume Blu-rays, and that's a way for fans to see a whole bunch of early stuff that they've never seen. And I do that throughout these volumes, these LBP classic Blu-rays. There's stuff scattered throughout those Blu-rays of old footage, raw footage, old projects. Uh, you know, and it's a way for any of the completist fans that we have who really want everything Chris Seaver. Um, and there's a few of you out there, and that's why we do it. And again, primarily so that I can have it all digital. I can be like, oh well, here's this. You know, I don't have to go to that tape anymore because it's right here on the Blu-ray, and I can just pop that in and reminisce. You know, but I could do that. You know, I mean, the stuff is right here. I just it's time consuming putting this stuff up. Once it's up, I like it, and I can edit it and sit there and sort of put a little presentation together, and that's fun. But it's just sitting here and rocking through it and making sure it all goes on there. Anything else? Any more questions about anything? Anything geeky? Anything that I love? Anything you love? Anything you may have a query about? I'll answer. Any plans for the rest of the weekend? Well, I mean, I'm in pre-production on Wellsville Nights, so every day I'm doing something for Wellsville Nights, just to get ready for this fucking thing. Um, it's coming up faster than I would like, and even though we've been doing pre-production since February, it's things are getting more real. So, I'll probably do more than that. I'll do some more of Wellsville Night stuff, but I try to watch a couple of movies every day, um, or I'll put on an old '80s TV show that I love because I have a lot of physical media of '80s stuff that I love. Um, that's it. Okay, here's something. Okay, as a massive Star Wars fan, how do you feel about the Acolyte if you've watched it? I am a so this is one discourse that I try not to talk about on online, um, because it's so volatile. Um, there's fandom, and it's like this with every fandom. I think certainly a lot of properties and IP that I love. There's a lot of this discourse, and I really try to keep myself out of it. One, because in the end, it doesn't really matter because it's just made up stuff. It's silly. I mean, these are just movies. These are just TV shows. It's not the it's not end all be all of civilization. um, and I find the discourse to be brutally frustrating and absurd. Um, because like with anything that's pop culture, it's opinions and people arguing about other people's opinions is beyond stupid to me. Um, my opinion is not your opinion. What I think is not what you think. And in the end, I don't care what you think about what I love and what I don't love. You know what I mean? And nobody should, um, because it's your opinion. You're never going to change that person's mind, vice versa. You know, um, and that doesn't seem to exist. Like that sort of like controlled, nuanced conversation doesn't exist really in fandom anymore. The only time I can find it really is with my friends in real life, um, sitting and having conversations, regardless if we don't agree with each other, because we can have fun with it and we can poke fun at each other, and we aren't tearing each other apart because of it. You know, um, so I love Star Wars, and I have. I've talked about this before, but if you're a child of the '70s, so I was born in the '70s. Yes, I was born in '77, right? I think there's a group of people who you're just sort of you're just doomed to have Star Wars in your life, and certainly a specific time that you were coming of age. For me, Star Wars was prevalent. It was everywhere. Um, it was the first big anything in my life. Um, 4 years old is when I first started getting actual Star Wars toys, and that's 1981. Everything before that was obviously just, Tinker Toys, Sesame Street stuff, blocks, uh, Mr. Potato Heads, Light Brights, shit like that. Um, Star Wars. So Star Wars is huge. Um, Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars film of all time. I have distinct and vivid memories of being in that theater going apeshit. I've talked about it many, many times. Um, and there's Star Wars that I love, and there's Star Wars that I do not love. And that's okay. Um, I don't like the prequels. I don't like anything connected to the prequels, really. I don't like that time period. I don't like the look. I don't like how it was presented to us. Um, I don't believe in Star Wars canon because it's so fucking gobbledygook. It's so up in the air. And the first person to ever fuck with Star Wars canon was George Lucas himself. So I don't abide by, I don't condone Star Wars canon. It's just not something that I hold to be true at all. Um, Hayden Christensen, to me, is not Darth Vader. The Clone Wars is not my Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm fine with it. Some people aren't fine with it. That's their problem. Um, and so I come at Star Wars really just honestly and truthfully from my heart and how it makes me feel. Um, just because it's Star Wars, I don't have to like it, right? And so um, I've been able to just watch the Star Wars media and rationally and as an adult say to myself, all right, I don't like that one. No skin off my back or sack. It's not going to make me cry. It's not going to like destroy me. And I'm not going to go yell at somebody about it. There's things that Lucasfilm, like everyone blames Disney. I don't blame Disney at all. And I don't necessarily blame Kathleen Kennedy because she's been in my life since I was a child. Uh, she has produced some of the greatest films of all time. Um, and she has produced some things in the new Lucasfilm era that I very much enjoy. Um, I think there's people that are within Lucasfilm that maybe shouldn't be um, creatively behind some of these projects. And I'm talking mostly writing, you know, because not everything hits. I know this is very long winded, but you opened up a can of worms. um, so, like, I loved The Force Awakens. I love it. I love it to this day. Um, I loved it then. I, to me, The Force Awakens was truthfully my most anticipated film of all time because Yeah, I was there for the prequels, and yes, I was excited, but it wasn't 100% necessarily what I wanted to be told. Um, it was a part of Star Wars that, as a Star Wars fan, I think I had enough of as far as info. You know what I mean? Like, I knew who Darth Vader was. Um, the Clone Wars were cool. I didn't necessarily need to see the Clone Wars. Um, I didn't need to see that backstory. I was fine with what they were presenting us growing up. And so, yes, I was anticipating the prequels. And yes, it was an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan. But it had never truly been the story that I wanted to see. I wanted to see what happens next after Return of the Jedi. And so, The Force Awakens for me was that. It was, "Oh, this is okay, we're in the timeline that I care about. We're going forward." Um, and The Force Awakens did it for me. I felt like a child. I was so excited and so happy and so thrilled with that movie. The potential was giant for that film as far as where the next 2 were gonna go. Um, I love Rogue One. Again, uh, it's a prequel. Ugh, I'm but I'm okay with where it was in the timeline because it was so close to what I love about Star Wars and what I love about those characters and that world. Um, did I wish that it was a was not a prequel? Absolutely. I wish that it was another fresh, new story that didn't go backwards. Um, and then it became sort of this backwards show. Everything was going backwards. Everything was giving us prequel era or in between this, in between that, and and I just I just want to go forward. You know, there's things in episode 8 I like, but overall I don't like episode 8. There's things in episode 9 I like, but overall, boy, I do not like episode 9. I don't like the Obi-Wan show. I thought it was pretty bad. Man, I didn't like Boba Fett, other than maybe a few things that I was like, "Okay, that's cool. This is right after Return of the Jedi. That's pretty dope." Um, but overall, Boba Fett failed miserably. Uh, other than the Mandalorian stuff, the TV show that I have liked the most is Mandalorian. Um, I've really enjoyed all 3 seasons of that. There's some episodes, of course, could be throwaway, and that's fine. Uh, Andor, I don't like. While I can watch Andor and say, yes, that is a very well put together show, and there's some good writing in there. It's not the part of Star Wars that I love. It's not the part of Star Wars that I fell in love with. I don't. I do not care about anything political in Star Wars. I just don't. I don't care about that part of Star Wars. It's not something. It's not what grabbed me as a child. I love the space fantasy. I love the Jedis. I love the Sith. I love the lore. I love the fantasy space epicness of it. I don't care about the real people behind the rebellion, the real people behind the empire. I just don't fucking care. And that's just me. And so we get to uh, you know, Ahsoka. Like again, it's like Dave Filoni sort of jacking off all over his face, because because it's a character he created, and again, it's not a character that I necessarily believe in canon. I don't I don't believe in this stuff. This stuff is so bizarre and insulary to me. Um, but I like the Ahsoka show when it was not relying on anything connected to the prequel, anything like that. And so finally, I'm coming to you with an answer about Acolyte. I am enjoying the Acolyte. Um, yes, there are problems with it on a um, just writing level, but I am finding joy in it. I'm finding entertainment in it. I am loving the fact that for the most part, it has zero to do with anything that we know. Um, as far as fucking Palpatine and Skywalkers and all of that shit. Like, so I am enjoying that aspect of the Acolyte. Again, canon, whatever the fuck, bullshit. It doesn't matter to me. People can bitch about, oh, it's doing this, it's doing that. You gotta whine about something, I guess. Um, so I'm just finding the joy in it. I'm finding the space fantasy of it. So I'm liking the Acolyte. I'm not loving the Acolyte, but I'm liking the Acolyte. So yeah, there was a long-winded. Um, you pretty much know where I'm coming from with Star Wars now. I'm always gonna love Star Wars, and it's okay to pick and choose what you like and what you don't like. There's going to be more stuff that comes out that I don't like, and I know there'll be more stuff that comes out that I do like. But it doesn't rule my world. It doesn't rule the way I live my life. It doesn't. I don't get angry about it. Um, you like all that stuff? If you like everything that's come out of Star Wars since the beginning, that's amazing. Um, I can't imagine having that much joy, you know, out of something. I can only imagine the joy that I do get out of Star Wars, you know. But if something doesn't hit, it doesn't it doesn't ruin my life. Um, so I love Star Wars, and I love the Star Wars that I love. Yeah. We'll see, man. We'll see where Acolyte goes, and we'll see where Skeleton Crew goes. We'll see where the Mandalorian movie goes. We'll see where the new Jedi Order goes. Like, let's see. You know, let's see. All right, Rogue One was great. That one really surprised me. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. Agreed. Frank, got to be honest. Solo was my favorite of the sequel trilogy era. There's things in Solo that I did like, and things that I didn't like, but I was highly entertained through Solo. 100%. Super fun movie. Did I buy him a Solo? No, I didn't. But that's okay. The things that were going on and the freshness that was happening in that, I was eating up. Um, Big boy, everything you've said, I just want to give you the handshake from the Ah, you son of a bitch. You know? Yeah, no problem. I'll talk Star Wars with a reasonable human being. You know, um, but the discourse online is not with reasonable human beings. You know, it's something else, man. It's mind boggling to me. It's very odd, very odd. Frank, I found the fun factor in Snark amusing. It was super fun, man. Evie, maybe an easier question to answer. What's your go-to pizza top? Yes, it is. I like my favorite type of pizza is New York style pizza. I love a good cheese. I love a good pepperoni and cheese, but I also like mushrooms, green peppers, and banana peppers on my pizza. You know, nothing too crazy. And pizza's probably, I mean, if you break it down, pizza's probably my favorite food of all time. I fucking love pizza. I can eat pizza every fucking week. Every week. Yeah, people love the sausage and onion stuff. My wife loves that stuff. I can't do it because it gives me heartburn. Um, the flavors are great, but I just try to stick to the stuff. It's mostly the sausage. It's the sausage. Anything really, I know is gonna come from my digestive system. And you mean that? I think it's the spices that are used with the sausage and everything. But yeah, see, I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. It's just okay to like what you like and not like what you don't like. It's okay. We're still here. The world is turning. We're still nobodies on a giant space rock in the middle of nothing. Calm down, folks. I got like so somebody like it's interesting. It that sort of discourse lends itself to every fandom out there, as I'm sure some of you know, and certainly I do. Um, but even say on posts, and it can be the most innocuous and innocent post that somebody makes. I'm gonna bring this up. Like somebody put on their on a post, "Oh, hey, I just watched Fright Night. I love this movie," or something like that. And so I, of course, was like, "Oh my god, Fright Night is my favorite horror movie of all time. I even have a shrine for it." Blah blah blah. And then, of course, someone has to respond to that and be a bitch about it and say, "Ugh, like really, like ugh, like you must not see a lot of movies," and blah 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 blah. It's just like, uh, you know, it's like why bother? So that type of stuff, even like I don't interact a lot online, because it's just like, humans, you know. What do you do? I wasn't telling that person that it has to be their favorite horror film, and I wasn't gonna get into an argument with this fucking person like that. I've been watching horror movies since I was a fucking child. I've probably seen more than most people. Like, who cares? It was just like, ugh. Like I didn't even want to respond. It was just like, you know, big boy. That's right. I am so cool, Brewster. It's just all opinions. I'll put up a video. Say there's I'll do. my favorite 80s television shows. I'll put up that video, right? And it'll say in the title, my favorite 80s television shows. And in the show, in the video, I'll say right up front, hey, folks, these are my favorite 80s television shows. Um, you know, this this isn't yours. These are my favorites. And then I'll list the favorites. And then down in the comments, they'll be like, you know, somebody countering my favorites. Or they'll say, yeah, but what about this? And it's like something goes in one ear and out the other. You know, one, working retail, and two, online, you really see the stupidity of the human race. And it's part of what makes me hate us as a creature, us as a species. And it really hits home how many individuals on this rock are just as dumb as a fish. You know what I mean? Like, um, that stuff. It's just so bizarre to me. Uh, you just you gotta go with the flow, Joe. No matter what is a hell of a show. Speaking of the '80s and pizza, were you a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Yep, I was and am. Yep, right from the get go, man. I was a comic reader as well as a kid, and so um, I would get a lot of recommendations. So probably around the same time as the toy line and the cartoon was hitting, 87, 88. I was 10 or 11. Um, I was also given, some Mirage Turtles comics. Uh, so yeah, I dig the Turtles. I haven't dug every iteration of the Turtles, um, but it's awesome that particular IP has continued throughout the years. Since 1984, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have been a constant. You know, and I have a video. We have two videos on here. We have part one and part two on the channel here. Um, celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. 40 years, man. So yeah, there's things within the turtles line of the property that's not for me and I don't care for. But oh yeah, I'll always be a turtle fan. Yeah. I even so back in the day, like I when the live action films came out, I made my own turtle suits out of duct tape, paper mache, and foam. And they were full turtle suits with the heads. And I had a little thing that I did so that I could make the mouth move and everything. Um, and there's videos of that on some of my Blu-rays that I offer. Old footage of the turtle stuff. I could probably put some of that stuff online as well. Um, so Frank, yeah, I'm not a fan of Turtles 3, the live action movie. I love the first one. That movie to me is a bona fide classic. Saw it 3 times in theaters that weekend. That weekend. Yeah, the original comics were great, and then I also collected all of the Archie comics, um, that did the Turtle Adventures as well. They were more kid friendly, but I liked them both. And man, that new one, whoo! That if you haven't read this, This is phenomenal. Eastman and Laird came back together after so many years and gave us this gem. And there's the second volume out now too. Um, but holy shit! And they're gonna be making a live action version of this through Paramount, which is amazing. Um, but this is badass. Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great. Yeah, I mean, I hope they actually do it. I hope they pull the trigger. I know it's in, you know, it's planned, and there was an official statement out there that it was going to happen. But you never know with these companies anymore. These studios, you don't know what's going to come out, and what's not. Um, but and this collection is awesome because I ended up like I'm mostly a trade paperback guy. I used to collect comics. Um, this is I used to collect the single issues and have long boxes and short boxes and all of that stuff. Um, but now I just do collected works. Um, I sold all my boxes like years ago, and so now I wait. I'll just wait for a collection to come out. One, it saves a lot of space, um, and two, it's just one foul swoop. You pay 20 bucks, whatever it is for the book, and you're good to go. So yeah, I had most of the individuals of this series back then, and then just sold them. And then I had the smaller collected books, and then when these collections came out, I grabbed these. Um, but yeah. Did I get the NECA Turtle Universal Monsters? Yes, I got the ones that I wanted. I still need to get the Creature from the Black Lagoon and the Wolfman one. I want those bad because they look fantastic. Um, but yeah, I think I've got five of them. Um, oh, I still need to get Donnie as the Invisible Man, and I need to get um, Casey Jones as the Phantom. But I have the others, and then I just saw the creature. I mean, I've seen them obviously, but in store in front of me, I did see Raphael Wolfman and Leonardo Creature, and I want them bad. But I don't have 60 bucks to lay out for that stuff, you know. But I'll get them at some time. Yeah, I have. So I've got Hunchback Leo. I've got um, Frankenstein Raph. I've got Mummy, Michelangelo, which I think is awesome. I've got Bride, April, and I've got Van Helsing, Splinter. Um, I think they're pretty awesome. I think they're awesome. They're down in the horror room, and upstairs in the '80s room, I've got, the '80s turtle line from Playmates, and I've got the NECA big ass movie turtle, all four of them. They're up in the '80s room. Those sculpts are amazing. I'm going to be talking about um, um, the Thundercats line coming up from Super Seven. I'm waiting on uh, Wily Cat to come in, and then I'm going to be doing my my Thundercats episode, and just talking about my love of Thundercats in general. But goddamn, those Super Seven Thundercats are incredible. The sculpts are amazing. The posing, all of that stuff. Like I'll be getting thick with my love of that line. I just did Masters of the Universe, the origin stuff. Um, that's on the channel you can watch. I'll be doing things like that, taking specific toy lines that I love and talking about them in their own, you know. I'll do Star Wars. I've done things like that throughout the past. It's on the channel. I've sort of did an amalgamation of all the stuff that I love growing up, and that I've recollected or still have. The mask line from '85, the Kenner mask line. That was one of the first big videos that I did. So that's way down on the channel. I'll probably do another one, an updated one. Um, but I have a Ghostbusters episode coming up, just talking about my history and love of the Ghostbusters franchise, showing off the Kenner stuff. Yeah, yeah, they did a great job. Yeah, hell yeah. I have Wily Kit. I just need Wily Cat. It's coming, and as soon as it gets in, I'll be doing that Thundercats video. Again, I'm not getting everything, and that's something that I carry on with me. You know, decades is I only go after the things that I had, um, and so with the Thundercats line, there was a even growing up, there was a bunch of those figures that I just didn't give a shit about. Ancillary characters that I was just like, "What the fuck? I don't care about this guy," you know? And I was also very much like, "If it's not in the cartoon, I don't care about this." So, and they did that with every toy line. And so I wasn't even as a kid, regardless of the fact that I had like a shit ton of whatever property it wasn't the full collection. And I'm not doing that now. Whether it be, recollecting the vintage stuff, or with the newer stuff. I just go after the characters that meant something to me and that I liked. Although Super Seven they're doing the Lunatacs, and I loved those guys in the cartoon, and we did not get those in toy form. So I probably will get the Lunatics. Um, they've released two so far, and they just showed us two more, um, and they look great. So I'll probably get those. But you know, Thundercats had fucking Captain Shiner and you know Hatchaman and all that shit. I just like I didn't care. Uh, I did have the snowman of Hook Mountain, so I will get snowman of Hook Mountain. Um, you know, I didn't, and in cartoon form, in any form, I didn't have the burbles. I don't care about you know Burble Bill and any of any of those guys. I love the cartoon, but even then, as a 9, 10 year old watching Thundercats, I didn't care about the burbles. Thought their voices were annoying. Yeah, so you're just talking about it. I don't want. I love the Ewoks. I love the Ewoks, but I didn't care about the burbles at all. Um, so I probably won't get those. I'll also be continuing the video series of movies I love that came out in '84 and '89, stuff celebrating 40th anniversary, 35th anniversary, that type of stuff. I'll keep doing those. Crazy year this year and next year. 40 years, man. I'm so I'm I'm blessed that I lived in that time and I grew up as a kid in the '80s. Like I just no one will ever know, man. No one will know. They'll never know unless you lived it, and I lived it to the fullest. You know, I I even say, as far as I'm concerned, I think growing up as a kid in the entirety of the '80s was better than growing up as a teenager in the entirety of the '80s. Because as a teenager, you are already at that point, you're sort of not caring about some of the pop culture that was happening, because you might mentally believe that you're over that stuff. Um, but growing up as a kid in the '80s, I mean, it was a smorgasbord. It was a fucking buffet of incredible, first of its kind pop culture, and I'm so happy that I was there. It was amazing. Greatest decade of all time. No question to me. You can try to argue, but I'll never change my mind. You know? Even as a teen in the '90s and in my 20s in the '90s, I was still holding on to my '80s love, that aesthetic. It's never left me. And I never stopped loving the things that I loved as a kid. Never. I didn't care. Like I was never one of those people who like lost interest in that stuff because I was getting older or because I was enjoying girls or whatever. Like I can enjoy all that stuff and still get girls and still be a teenager and a 20-year-old. You know what I mean? Like I didn't care. I've always been the same Chris and I've always loved the same things and I've never been ashamed of it. Um, Anybody who knows me knows. It's just never really waned. If you were my girlfriend at the time, then you were my girlfriend who was surrounded by the same shit, geeky shit, horror shit, toys, you know, posters, memorabilia. It was all there. And me making movies. You were always just there watching me make movies. It's just what it was. Yeah, Frank, fucking hell yeah. You know, it's hard to it's hard to explain to somebody, and even to those people who are like, well, I was 5 in 1989, so I'm an '80s kid. And I'm like, no, you're fucking not, dude. You're not. You're not an '80s kid. You know, you were a child. You were a child, and your memory probably kicked in the late '80s to any of that stuff. You didn't live it. You know what I mean? Well, Frank, that's true. Like, if you think about it, um, every decade since the '80s has aped the '80s. It has never really left. Anything that's sort of big today is almost 100% '80s related. Um, it's fucking incredible. It's incredible. It's incredible. You know. Like, I in particular love the people who are like 19, 20-year old now. Their life has been the 2000s. I love those people who embrace the '80s so much, who live the '80s. There's a big '80s community online of people that age who recognize that it was the best. And they do whatever they can to sort of, be live in it and envelop themselves around it. I think that's pretty cool and fascinating. And if anything, it's just them giving complete awareness to the fact that, hey man, it was rad. It was so rad. Yeah, it'll never leave me. Day by day, I'm living in an '80s aesthetic as much as I can. Never giving it up. And I'll never get tired of talking about it. Come on. There we go. Nope, there we go. Same way, I'm a bit younger. I'm 32, but my mother has held on to the '80s with a vice grip and raised me with all that stuff around the house. She has always said the world peaked in the '80s. It's true, man. And some of my best friends are your age, and those people you've seen in my movies are that age, your age. You know, '90s kids, and they were raised that same way. They had either both parents or one parent sort of teach them in the ways, and they love it, you know. Um, and it's probably a big reason why I get along with them so much is that I can say something and they'll get it, they'll understand it, and they'll appreciate it. Um, we're on that level, you know? I mean, but you can also say, I would say anybody's sort of from their generation is gonna say their generation was the best, I would think. Their decade was the best, Um, and you can't make them change your mind, just as you'll never be able to change my mind that the '80s were the best, you know? Um, but there's kids who are like, my childhood in the 2000s were the best, you know? And that's fine, and that's what they have, but for me, it's sad because they'll never truly understand what it was like. They just won't. It was just different, just magical. And I give the '90s a hard time. I do. You know, but I think, that's sort of a 50-50 thing because um, there's a lot of great movies that I love from the '90s. Not music. I thoroughly loathe the '90s music. um, but aesthetically, I hated the '90s. There's still a lot of cinema that I hate from the '90s. The music I hate from the '90s. Um, but like I said, there's some stuff I love from the '90s, and I do talk about it on the channel, um, whether it be movies or TV. And certainly, as a human being, certainly in my teens and 20s, I had a blast in the '90s. And a lot of that had to do with, one, staying a child at heart, and two, um, making films. I was constantly making movies. I started Low Budget Pictures, 1991. Um, I further entrenched myself into the horror community, and really developed into the person that I am, you know. But the '80s blow it out of the water. So, whatever. And those Lord of the Rings films are fucking chef's kiss. Love those films. It's just true, like you see the old man stereotype of, they don't make them like they used to, you know. I I find that to be a enveloping statement on decades, The '80s, they don't make them like this anymore. They don't make decades like the '80s. It was a singular thing, man. And if time travel finally becomes a thing, or if we get to that point where our future selves have come back, our evolved alien selves have come back to help along that technology, folks, anybody, do yourself a favor. You get in that time machine and you go back to the '80s and you experience it for yourselves. Because I'll do it, no question. Any more questions? I'll otherwise I'll probably move along, call it a day. But if you guys have any more questions, if you want to talk more or whatever, let me know. That's a good theory. That's a good theory, but you never know. There's a lot of pictures out there, man. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean you haven't done it yet. Yes, thank you, Frank. Thanks for chatting with me, shooting the shit. Um, I am excited about the new Rohirrim film. Yes, yes, I am. I just want to see a trailer. You know, let's see this trailer. And I'm a one trailer guy. I don't follow anything after that. If it's a teaser trailer, even better. I'll watch that initial trailer that comes out, and then I'll watch nothing after that. If I'm in the movies and a trailer for a movie that's coming out that I haven't seen, um, say it's like the full trailer or a new trailer, I put my head down and I don't watch it. Um, everything is spoiled nowadays, and you know, back in the day, you either saw a commercial on TV or you saw a snippet on Entertainment Tonight, or you were in the theater and a trailer played for the first time and you didn't know it was coming and it surprised you. That's how I like to be, you know, going into a movie. And these days, it's just they pump so much in there. And I'm also a very visual person. So something visual, it might not be a spoiler per se, but for me, just seeing that visual, I would rather see it on the big screen for the first time. So I'll only do like the first teaser or whatever it is, and then nothing after that. So just give me that initial Rohirrim trailer, and I'll be good to go. Oh yeah, yeah, Frank, it's coming. It's at the end of the year. I think it's a December movie um, from Warner Brothers, New Line. Yeah, I don't want to know anything past 2 minute internet culture has taken away that immense feeling of anticipation, even if the movie turns out to be utter shit. Yeah, 100%. And I do that with TV shows as well. I'll watch that initial trailer just to get me juiced, and I'll be like, "All right, let's go. Let's do this." Enough. I don't watch clips, don't watch little ads, nothing. Like, just let's go. And I'm better for it. You know. I started doing it about 11 years ago, where I just was like, enough is enough. You know. Stop spoiling me. I will say this though, I want Peter to go back and make another horror film. Um, I am kind of tired of him sort of uh, constantly throwing his hat into the Lord of the Rings ring. you know, um, I started with his horror stuff, And so that's where 100% my love comes from for Peter Jackson, regardless of the fact that he made, you know, arguably the greatest trilogy of films of all time with Lord of the Rings. But um, my deep love for him comes from Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, and Brain Dead. Um, and so I want him to get back and make just one more. Give me one more. You know, I love Heavenly Creatures. I love The Frighteners. Um, you know, like, come on, come back, buddy. Give us one more. You know, you've proven it. You've proven it in the land of Tolkien. You know, and now you're producing this the Hunt for Gollum movie that's coming out. You know that you're going to be producing and Andy Serkis is directing and all that stuff. It's like okay, like you know, scrape together, go into your bank account, pull out $1 million, and make a nice, sick, fun, down and dirty, low budget, no budget comedy horror film again. Let's like, come on, Peter, you got this. All right, anything else, guys? Otherwise, I'm going to split. What do you got? Cheers, Chris. This is the first live stream I've ever caught. Your movies have brought a lot of lighthearted joy. Thank you. Thank you. And remember, you can always get a hold of me. If you want to see more, I offer a butt ton more of my films that you can only get through me on Blu-ray. Um, give you a whole list of everything. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Um, and I'll try to let everyone know again when I do this. I know this was fast again. It was, I did throw it up on Instagram, just saying what I was doing, but you know, I'll try to be a little more consistent with it. But check out the channel. Keep hit that notification bell so you know when I put up new stuff. I'm trying to shoot more stuff, and we're gonna have stuff up next week and the week after that. So and then there's so many videos for you to go through. There might be a particular subject that you're into that we've already talked about, and it's somewhere on this Crep from the '80s channel. So um, give it a watch. All right, guys. Thanks so much. I will see you again. Bye.